Hey everyone, this is Ryan with Select Characters, and this is the first episode of Well, It Matters to Me. And this is a news show that we're going to start doing, and it's kind of whenever we want to do it. If there's something in the gaming world that matters to us, a piece of news, an opinion, anything like that, we can make one of these episodes about it. And it doesn't have to be directly tied to the podcast, because sometimes there's things that we really care about that aren't necessarily the best fit for discussion on the podcast. So I wanted to bring this show to you guys so we can kind of talk about what matters to us individually as hosts and what our opinions are on those news updates. So yeah, let's dive just straight in. Today I want to talk about the status report for DayZ. Now, 0.60, the patch has been a long time coming. It was supposed to be out, I think, in late February, but it got postponed for a lot of reasons. But it seems that we're getting right up to the cusp of it being released. So I'm going to go through the status report a little bit and talk to you guys about what's going on with that game. So in the first part of the status report, developer Hicks kind of talks about some of the blockers that they have coming up to 0.60, and there were a lot of them previously, but now it seems like they're being mostly taken care of. Loot distribution had a problem with items not respawning correctly, so when the server started, the items were all there, and the server cleanup when it restarted would work, but item respawn during the lifetime of the server was not working properly, and it ended up causing these giant loot explosions that we've all seen before if you've played DayZ for a little bit. Just these massive piles of loot that would kind of rob everywhere else of their loot, and it would all be just stacked in a central location, and it just kind of sucked because that was the only place to get your loot. So apparently that's been fixed, or at least they hope. Hicks said it's in quality assurance and it's going through testing right now, so we'll see about that. The next couple things are kind of encouraging to see. The stuck magazine bug is fixed, and apparently it can't be reproduced. So you're not gonna have a magazine stuck in your gun anymore when you try to reload. And sliding players. This has been a problem since I can remember. There's always been sliding players in DayZ. And I guess that, again, they haven't been able to reproduce the issues since fixing it. That's been verified by their quality assurance team also. Next is the new UI and kind of the function of it, how well it works. The status report says they've finished all the things that they need to do for 0.60 to go to experimental in terms of the new inventory UI. But really, we're going to see if it's working properly when the player base gets their hands on it when it comes into experimental. Next, he goes on to talk about a couple issues that are still being resolved. Next would be an FPS drop when you are using, I guess, high quality clouds or have clouds on at all. So there was this completely reproducible frame drop on 2 out of the 30 computers that they used to test this issue. It says 30 plus computers. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable for any players to be having a frame drop down into, you know, sub 10 frames a second, regardless of how small the sample is out of the larger number. So they're working on that right now, and the status report, Hicks says the quality assurance is verifying it while he's writing the report that the issue's fixed. The next one is server crash, which this one seems like it's going to be pretty annoying if it's not fixed. There's a problem where unconscious players relogging causes the server to crash. Now, if you've been playing DayZ for a while and you remember the splint throwing bug, that was the most annoying thing in the world. Anyone who crafted a splint and threw it would crash the server. And it was really frustrating when you were having a firefight with someone and somebody would throw a splint, and then you'd all have to relog back in and hope that your enemy didn't get an advantage on you while you were trying to get back into the server. So that's kind of a huge issue, and I'm going to be disappointed if it's not fixed by the time 0.60 comes out, because DayZ has had a lot of issues with server crashes, and they're one of the most annoying bugs in the game. It was kind of nice to see this. It shows that the DayZ team is correcting a lot of the issues that they have, and they're doing it before they push things to experimental. And I don't know about you guys, but I like to have the game pretty functional when they push it to experimental. I mean, I know experimental is there so the players can search for bugs, but why have more bugs than we need to? And it was kind of annoying to me that they would push back the 0.60 update so far, and it still is a little annoying, but you know, if they're really fixing all these issues and we don't have to deal with it when it does come out, I'm all for it. So next up, Peter talks about some of the base information, and this is a pretty big chunk of text, so I'm just going to go through my notes with you guys. So the devs want pre-made as well as craftable structures in our base building, and it seems like they want more towards the craftable side than the pre-made side. And this is displayed by, I mean, things like barbed wire fence. You can have sheet metal for walls or wood planks for walls, put up camouflage, all these different things that are little pieces that are going to come in together to make a bigger overall base, rather than finding a base as a single item in the game and then just popping it up out of nowhere, which I think is pretty cool. And they want to have as many options as possible when you're building your base, so we don't get these cookie cutter bases. So pre-made is least preferable, at least what it seems like from the report. He talks about things like improvised hinges for gates that even the V3S can fit through, and it's a pretty big truck. Electric fences, like I said earlier. There's like twinkle lights or something he mentioned. Light chains, there you go. So you can brighten up your camp if you don't want to have a dingy camouflage camp. And he even talks about a power grid, which seems pretty cool. My imagination kind of goes running off with that one, but I wonder what's going to be possible with the power grids. That'll be very, very interesting. One thing that we saw a long time ago was the precise object placement, and that was a really exciting feature, and then it just kind of fell off the map. But he does address it in this report, saying that it did have to be postponed, and that this new system of base building is not going to come until the new character controller is out. So apparently until that comes out, we're not going to see any of these new cool base building things, but that should be cool when it does come out, because that means all this stuff is going to be ready. So we're going to get the player controller and base building hopefully at the same time. I mean, that makes sense to me. And in the last part, we hear from Victor about some of the new animations coming in, and it's just wounded player animations are being wrapped up, as well as weapon specific animations, and then wounded crouched animations are in the pipeline for them in their mocap. Other than that, one more cool thing was that the infected can crawl over obstacles now, and he specifies in the article that this is a very early implementation. I know that's kind of a broken record, but I mean, the game is being developed, so it is an early implementation. So when we see it on their streams or in game, it may not work perfect the first few times, but that seems like a feature that's really awesome, because it's too easy to outrun zombies just by running around a short fence faster than they do, or until they lose interest. It's going to be really awesome when you have a horde of zombie who's they're just pouring over all the obstacles in their way to come get you. Hopefully that's where the game ends up. The last part is the community spotlight that you guys can tune into if you follow. So overall, you know, I saw a lot of comments on Reddit saying that this seems like a more transparent status report, and it seems that way. They're being very direct about what is still a blocker and what's not, and where the progress of the game is, because, you know, at this point, they're so far behind the dates that they hope to reach. Why try to put up a front and act like things aren't issues when they are? Just tell us what the issues are, tell us when they get resolved. And I think that's going to lead to a much happier player base. We can wait if the game's going to end up being better. That's just my opinion on it. So let's move on to Rocket League. Now, yesterday, Rocket League got the update that contains Hoops, and Hoops is Rocket League basketball. We've been playing soccer for a long time. We got a little bit of hockey, but now we get basketball, which is kind of, when you think about it, an impressive feat for them to pull off, considering the initial game started as soccer. So I don't know if you guys have watched the trailer or been following Rocket League at all, but now we have a basketball court rather than a soccer field, and 2 hoops that you have to shoot the ball into. The hoops have this slope that is permeable by the players but not the ball, so I guess you could try to ramp the ball up into the hoop, but it's much easier to go for aerials in this game mode, and that is something that I'm terrible at. So if you're not good at aerials, expect to have a little bit of a frustrating time in Hoops. That isn't to say that it's impossible to score if you're not up in the air flying around, but it's a lot harder. And I'll be the first to admit that I'm terrible at Rocket League, and I'm even more terrible at Hoops, and I think it's the hardest mode to score in so far. The game mode is 2-on-2, and it's on a smaller field or court. It's a lot smaller than the soccer field, and it only has 2 players, which I found kind of underwhelming. I think it'd be a lot more fun to have at least 3 players in there, and I know that when I play couch co-op with my wife, she doesn't like to play 2-player matches, because then she feels like all the pressure is on her to perform as well as I do, just because I play the game more, which obviously isn't true. I don't care how my wife plays Rocket League, I just do it for fun. But it would be nice to have the option to have a 3rd player. Or 4 players. Maybe a little bit of a bigger court. I don't know. Anyways, I think we need at least 3 players on the current size of the court, but I don't know if that's a change that'll ever come. Hope it does. But outside of that, we have another little piece of this update, which is the NBA flag pack, and it's for $199 US. And basically you buy it, you get all the flags for the NBA teams. I don't follow basketball, I follow football. So that doesn't mean much to me. I do think it is cool that they give a little NBA flag out. If you don't want to buy the pack, you can still put the NBA logo on your car, and it'll keep track of how many dunks you get, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, good on Rocket League for adding another game mode that, even though I suck at it, is really fun. It's pretty refreshing. And it makes me wonder what other sports they're going to try to attempt in the future. So that's all I have for you guys right now. These are kind of the things that just matter to me in the news recently, and I hope you enjoyed listening to them. And give me your comments and opinions down below if you would choose to do so. Like and subscribe if you liked the video, please. And this has been Ryan with Select Characters. Thanks for watching.